Hello, everyone. This is your professor once again on recruitment and selection, Danny Araneta Cabulay, and we are now in week number 9. This is video number 1. So first, I just want to give you some reminders. Make sure that you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, that is Danny Cabulay. Make sure that you are also hooked up to my Facebook so I can check also on some reminders that I would like to give you from time to time. Okay? So stay tuned also to our chat group because I post a lot of stuff in the chat group. Okay? So let's start the ball rolling. Make sure that you watch the entire video and you have to answer the question at the end of the video, so that will be your recitation grade. Okay? So for this week, we're going to tackle 2 selection strategies. Remember, recruitment is announcing to the whole world that you have a job vacancy in your company, and selection would mean that would be the process of choosing the best fit applicant for your vacancy. So we're now going to tackle 2 very important selection techniques: testing and background checking. So for today, we will talk about rationale for pre-employment tests, types of pre-employment tests, and then procedure in administering tests, and then challenges in pre-employment tests, the purpose of background checking, ways of checking an employee's background, procedure in background checking, challenges in background checking, and finally, we will focus on social media and how it is used as a selection technique, especially in background checking. Okay, let's start with the first lesson. What would be pre-employment testing? Pre-employment testing is a centralized method to acquire and document information about the applicant's activities. This test can detail if a person can perform tasks effectively in the workplace or not. Often, pre-employment tests precede the interview. Okay? So that means yung mga employers natin o mga recruiters, sila ay nagko-conduct ng mga iba't ibang klaseng tests. In most cases, they scan the CV and then they invite people to take the test, at yung pumasa sa CV at pumasa sa test, yun lang ang ini-interview. But in some cases, baliktad. Nauuna muna yung interview, tapos yung mga finalist, sila ay sinasubject sa testing. At yung pinakamataas sa test, yan na yung shortlisted. That means sila yung pinakamahusay at pinakamagaling. Okay? So, let's start to look at what are the different kinds of tests. Bakit pa kailangan ang pre-employment testing? Bakit hindi pwedeng interview na lang? Okay? Number 1, to accelerate the hiring process. Kasi mas mabilis ang ating hiring process kapag nag-conduct tayo ng test at yung pumasa lang, yun lang ang i-interviewin natin. We will not waste our time interviewing lots and lots of applicants. We only interview those who have the brains, who have the aptitude, or who have the technical know-how, okay, for the job. Okay? Yun talaga yung qualified. Okay? Now, to test an applicant's knowledge and skills. Kaya tayo nagko-conduct ng test. Malaman natin talaga kung sino yung may karapatan o makaka-perform ng trabaho. Okay? Because these tests are a good indicator of whether or not they will perform on the job. And another reason why testing is important, because it will determine if the applicant can perform the task or not. Kaya ba ang trabaho o hindi? Okay? And then another reason is that to increase the quality of interviews, para yung ating i-interviewin, alam natin sila yung mga knowledgeable, sila yung mga mahuhusay, pwede tayong magbigay ng very difficult questions during the interview. Okay? And then, another reason is to shortlist the applicants. So, imaginein mo kung 100 yung nag-apply, tapos tinignan mo yung biodata, 80 lang ang qualified. So yung 20, hindi mo na sila i-invitein. So out of 80, we conduct a test out of the 80 ang pumasa lang sa test ay 50, pero yung mga pinakamatataas, let's say yung top 5 or yung top 10, sila lang siguro ang i-interviewin natin. We don't need to interview 80 people. So you see, napapabilis ang hiring process. Nagkakaroon na tayo ng tinatawag na shortlist because of the tests. Okay? And then, another reason, the last reason why pre-employment tests are important, because we're able to weed out the unqualified ones. Kasi kung hinahanap natin talaga yung mga pinakamahusay, pinakamagaling, pinakamay kaalaman, abay, let's conduct a test. Okay? Now, ano ba yung mga klase ng mga test? Well, 7 po yan. Meron tayong tinatawag na job knowledge test, integrity test, cognitive ability test, also called IQ test, and then personality test, emotional intelligence test, and skills assessment test, and finally, physical ability test. Let's look at this one by one. Yung tinatawag natin na job knowledge test, ito yung mga test that will identify an applicant's knowledge about the job. Gusto natin sukatin kung may alam ba siya sa trabaho na kanyang ina-applyan. For instance, if an employer is hiring an accounting manager, managerial position ang ina-applyan. So, job knowledge test may cover the following topics: internal control, report writing, financial analysis, accounting principles and procedures, and statutory requirements, yung mga sinasubmit sa gobyerno. Dapat ang isang accounting manager, alam niya lahat yan. So, yan, tetestingin natin siya. Bibigyan natin siya ng test on accounting. Accounting test ang ibibigay natin sa kanya. Pagagawin natin siya ng financial statements or financial reports, tignan natin kung marunong siyang magsulat o gumawa ng accounting report or financial report. Or pagawin natin siya ng budget. Okay? So, those are examples of job knowledge test. Okay? Meron naman tayong tinatawag din na integrity test or honesty test ang tawag dyan. Integrity tests are one of the most objective tests and they help measure the reliability of applicants. Maaasahan ba itong aplikante na ito? Ito bang aplikante na ito ay tapat or honest? Ayaw natin mag-hire ng dishonest. Yes, you can actually test honesty. Okay? Employers gear the questions to the degree of integrity and ethical guidance when encountering certain situations in the workplace. So, most likely ang tinatanong sa integrity test, mga situational questions. Okay? Para masukat natin kung siya ay honest o hindi. It ascertains if an applicant is a match for the employer's culture and if he can work well with others. Very important yan. Kasi ayaw natin magpasok ng malikotang kamay o magnanakaw or sinungaling sa ating mga kumpanya. Okay? Especially most companies espouse the culture of integrity or honesty. Here are a sample of integrity test questions. Do you prefer to be honest or excellent? Okay? Or you could ask the question, how would you act if a manager or co-worker gave you a task that violates company policy? So technically, yung mga sagot dito parang essay questions. Okay? Essay ang answers, no? Is it ethical to question or criticize a company policy? That's an interesting one. Have you lied to a previous manager? Yes or no? And then you can explain. And if a client ask you to do something illegal, will you do it? Yan. So, dapat ang sagot dyan, no. Pero pag may mga sumasagot ng it depends or maybe, I don't know, medyo delikado yung mga ganong sagot. Dapat firm ka na, it's a no. Okay? So, those are examples of integrity test questions. Meron din tayong tinatawag na cognitive ability test. So, tinetest naman ito yung IQ natin, kung gaano ba tayo katalino. Kasi pag sinabing cognitive, yung capacity natin mag-isip. So, maybe binibigyan tayo ng current event questions or maybe math questions or English questions, grammar, spelling, verbal ability. Yan. Those are examples of cognitive ability tests or maybe abstract reasoning. Okay? Sometimes they're also called aptitude tests. Pero more on IQ. Cognitive ability tests ask questions about a person's mental ability to work in a position. An applicant's answers enable employers to predict job performance since they'll know more about how the applicant will handle complexity. Okay? Kaya kung medyo nahihirapan ka magbasa o nahihirapan ka mag-spell ng mga words or mag-compose ng sentences, you will have difficulty on cognitive ability. Or nahihirapan ka mag-compute kasi there are computational questions in cognitive ability test. So let's look at some examples. No? Here's a sample. Book is to reading as fork is to drawing, writing, steering, eating. What is the correct answer? The correct answer is D, eating. Okay? So another sample question. Which number should come next? Here is the series. 37, 34, 31, and then 28. The choices are A, 30, B, 27, C, 25, D, 22. The correct answer is C, 25. Why is 25 the correct answer? Because notice that in the intervals of the series 37, 34, 31, and 28 is 3. Tatlong numero ang pagitan nila. So therefore, 37 minus 3 is 34, 34 minus 3 is 31, 31 minus 3 is 28, therefore 28 minus 3 is 25. That's why letter C is the correct answer. Here's another sample. Find two words from each group that are closest in meaning. A, talkative, job, ecstatic. Group B, angry, wild, loquacious. Here are the pairs to choose from. A, talkative and wind. B, job and angry. C, talkative and loquacious. And D, ecstatic and angry. The correct answer is C, talkative and loquacious. Talkative, madaldal. Loquacious, maraming salita. Yun ang ibig sabihin nun. Okay, so pareho lang sila ng meaning, right? So here is another type of cognitive ability test, abstract reasoning. So there are 4 boxes with smaller boxes, black and white boxes. Which do you think will be the 5th box? The correct answer is A. Okay? Because remember, in the first box, you have 3 small boxes beginning with a black box. Then the second one, there are 4 boxes already beginning with a white one. And then the third box, there would be 5 small boxes in it and beginning with a black box. And then the fourth one, there will be 6 boxes already, beginning with a white box. Therefore, the 5th box will have 7 small boxes, beginning with a black box. And only letter A fits that description. Okay, that's why A is the correct answer. So those are examples of cognitive ability test questions. Another type of pre-employment test would be personality tests. Okay? So personality tests indicate to employers if one is fit within the company's culture and if his or her personality leads to an increase in productivity. Test results help employers evaluate an applicant's engagement level and if they think one is interested in a long-term career with the organization. Okay? So, sample personality tests available out there in the market are the Caliper Profile, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, the HSL Occupational Personality Questionnaire, the Hogan Personality Inventory, okay? And then we also have the DISC Behavioral Inventory, the picture test, maraming klase ng picture test. Meron tayong tinatawag na TAT or Thematic Apperception Test. Then we also have the Rorschach test, yung mga ink blots, okay? And then draw a picture test. I'll show you samples of what I mean, okay? So if you go to the next slide, you will notice that there is a picture of a man standing with his elbow to his face, and there's a woman half naked lying on the bed almost covered by a blanket. Okay? So, showing this picture to the applicant, there will be questions like, what do you see? What could have happened here? What led to this event? What will be the outcome of the story? So, ibig sabihin, yung mga aplikante, papakitaan ng picture na to, sasagutin nila yung mga questions na to. Okay? So, yung mga sagot nila will be interpreted by the HR personnel, somebody who can interpret test, what you call a psychometrician. Okay? So, yung kanya mga sagot kasi, malalaman kung anong klaseng personality meron siya. Okay? Believe me, itong mga ganitong klaseng test na detect yung mga criminal tendencies ng mga aplikante. Okay? So, maraming nadidiscover dito sa ganitong klaseng test. So, be careful when you answer this type of test. It might reveal who you really are. Could be a good person, could be a bad person. Let's look at the next picture. The next picture shows a man and an old woman. The old woman is looking out of the window. So the same set of questions. What do you see? What could have happened here? What led to this event? What will be the outcome of the story? So gagawa ka ng kwento, yung aplikante, magsusulat siya ng essay. So yung kanyang sagot will most likely determine the type of personality that he or she possesses. Okay? So ito pong ganito, very revealing to kasi two persons may not have the same answer. Okay? They may have very different interpretations. The third picture is a woman and there's an older woman behind, no? Maybe whispering something, okay? Or, talking to the person, okay? So, again, the questions are, what do you see? What could have happened here? What led to this event? And what will be the outcome of the story, okay? Then the next of course, there's a lot of other pictures in the TAT, the Thematic Apperception Test. I think there are about 15 pictures. You'll be shown 15 pictures. Now, there's another type of test, the Rorschach ink blot test. Of course, this was invented and developed by Rorschach, a psychologist, okay? So, again, what do you see? So, these are just two samples of ink blots, okay? So, what can you interpret? So, some people will look at a bird, or the first diagram, they might look at it as a bird, or maybe a bat, or dry leaves, etc. Okay? Now, the second picture, they might look at it as two persons talking, okay? Or they might look at it as maybe a candle or maybe a face of a person with a beard. So there could be lots of interpretation there. So I think, the different images that could register first, to a person will be interpreted. No? So makikita yung kanyang personality, okay, by his interpretation. Now, the third type of picture test would be the draw a picture test. So, minsan magpapadrawing yung proctor ng house, tree, and person. So, ganyan. Ano ba yung idodrawing ba niya isang tao, dalawang tao, tatlong tao, like a family? Yung mga tao ba nasa labas ng bahay o nasa loob ng bahay? Yung bahay ba mas malaki sa tao o yung tao ang mas malaki sa bahay? Parang yung bahay malayo siya, okay, nasa likod. What about the size of the tree? Is the tree small? Is the tree big? Okay? Is the family close to the tree or close to the house? So, those all have meaning. Na-i-interpret ang pagkatao ng isang aplikante sa pagdodrawing, okay? Kasi lumalabas yung kanyang mga hidden desires or maybe aspirations or maybe problems, okay? So that would be the type of draw a picture test, okay? Now, let's look at other types of tests. The Emotional Intelligence Test or the EQ test, okay? Emotional Intelligence Test analyze an applicant's relationship building skills and his knowledge of emotions. Having high emotional intelligence shows how one can diffuse conflicts and relieve the anxiety of co-workers if they're frustrated or disappointed. So makikita dito kung ikaw ay maiksi ang PC mo, madali ka bang magalit, are you patient, are you kind to others, are you sociable, are you a team player, and so on and so forth. Some employers may use the Burke assessment to review the range of emotional skills to see if the applicants are fit for the position applied for. A few vital traits that can be revealed during the emotional intelligence test include teamwork, adaptability, empathy, discipline, sensitivity, professionalism, and diligence. Okay? So, for example, a type of test would be the mind tools. There are 15 questions to be asked. Okay? Basically, they're statements. So you're supposed to comment on those statements. So again, this is like an essay. You can, for every sentence, you have to comment, okay, as it applies to you, okay, the applicant. I can recognize my emotions as I experience them. I lose my temper when I feel frustrated. People have told me that I'm a good listener. I know how to calm myself down when I feel anxious or upset. I enjoy organizing groups. I find it hard to focus on something over the long term. I find it difficult to move on when I feel frustrated or unhappy. Another batch of questions. I know my strengths and weaknesses. I avoid conflict and negotiations. I feel that I don't enjoy my work. I ask people for feedback on what I do well and how I can improve. I set long-term goals and review my progress regularly. I find it difficult to read other people's emotions. I struggle to build rapport with others. I use active listening skills when people speak to me. Okay. Now, we're on to the second to the last type of test. There's what you call the skills assessment test. Okay? So when you talk about skills assessment test, these showcase an applicant's soft and hard skills. Employers test for these skills once they're in the later stage of the hiring process to understand whom they might want to hire. For example, if an employer wants to hire a public relations coordinator position, they might administer a writing test to see how many words one can type per minute, if one can write newsworthy content within a given timeline, and how well one proofreads his content before submission. Kasi yung public relations officer, yan ay nagko-compose ng mga articles na pinapublish sa dyaryo. So, bibigyan siya ng test, writing test. Nakakasulat ka ba? Nakaka-compose ka ba? Maganda ba yung sinulat mo? Are you able to edit your own work? Okay. Additional skills assessment tests may require one to demonstrate research skills, presentation, or leadership skills to advance in the hiring process. So, pwedeng dagdagan pa yung mga klase ng test na ibibigay sa kanya. Hindi lang composition. Okay? Now, the last type of test would be the physical ability test. Pag sinabing physical ability, obviously, ang tinitest natin yung physical na kakayahan ng isang tao. Yes, so it's not about the brain anymore. It's your body. Okay? This test feature one's strength and stamina. They also reveal if one is capable of performing in roles that require physical work. Yung mga trabahong mabibigat, no, sa katawan. Okay? Testing for physical competencies adds another step to the hiring process for employers. So they reduce the chances of workplace accidents in addition to finding a qualified candidate. Meron kasi mga trabaho na kailangan ang physical ability. Kasi pag hindi ka malakas, kulang ka sa physical ability or strength, pwede kang manghina, magkasakit, dahil mabigat talaga yung trabaho. Physical talaga yung trabaho. At pwede ka rin maaksidente, kung mahina ang paningin mo, mahina ang iyong reflex, no? You will be accident prone. And that would be very, very costly for the company. Imagine mo kung yung mga empleyado lagi na aksidente, ang laki ng ginagastos ng company, di ba? So, sa hospitalization. So, gusto nila yung mga empleyado nila malalakas. Okay? So, isang screening test yan. Isang klase ng test po yan. Okay? So, activities that test an applicant's endurance, agility, strength, reflex, flexibility, vision, etc. may be useful to screen jobs like for firemen, policemen, military personnel, yung mga sundalo, truck loader, construction worker, stevedore sa pier, no? Athlete, movers, yung mga sa lipat bahay, di ba? Nagbubuhat sila. Gym instructor, dancers, stuntmen, acrobats, drivers, etc. Yes, yung driver dapat maayos ang paningin niya, yung reflex niya, saka kung lagi kang nakaupo ng matagal na panahon, you're driving a long haul trip, abay kailangan may stamina ka. Okay? Wala kang sakit. So, yan ang example, yung mga construction workers, nakikita natin sa picture. Now, meron din tayo tinatawag na pre-employment medical examination. So, iba naman to sa physical test. Yung physical test, tinitest talaga yung endurance mo, yung physical ability mo. Medical test, tinitest ito kung ikaw ay may sakit o wala. Are you fit to work? Ika nga. Kasi kung may sakit ka, baka ikaw ay ma-reject o ikaw ay hindi ma-hire. Hindi ikaw ang pipiliin kung meron kang mga sakit na nakakahawa, sakit na pwede kang maaksidente o mapahamak habang nagtatrabaho, o pwedeng mananagot ang company, no? Dahil sa sakit mo na yan. Okay? So, example, yung cardiometabolic screening, okay? Diabetes screening, overweight screening, yes, yung mga sobrang taba, nagkakaroon sila ng complications sa health. Pap smears, okay? Lung cancer screening, complete blood count, liver function test, urine test, o yung sa ihi, no? Tinitest natin yung ihi. Fecalysis o yung pagtetest ng dumi. Sometimes it's called stool test or stool analysis. Sputum test, laway, okay? Kasi pwede kang makakita sila ng mga sakit sa ating laway. Radiological test, ito yung tinatawag natin na X-ray. And then finally, ultrasound or ultrasonography. So, parang pareho rin siya ng X-ray. Okay? So, yun ang mga samples ng mga test na kinoconduct o nire-require ng mga ibang companies. Kuminsan 4, 5. Meron pang bago ngayon yung tinatawag na drug test to make sure na ikaw ay hindi nagtitake ng droga. Okay? Drug test. Importante yun. So, either kunan ka ng dugo o ng ihi. Okay? Now, meron din tayong mga tinatawag na managerial test. Yung mga managerial test, binibigay ito sa mga nag-a-apply for managerial positions. Okay? Department head, senior executive, yan po, no? Or specialist. So, binibigyan sila ng aptitude test, kung saan nagkakaroon ng, tinetest yung critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, planning, at leadership. Then, binibigyan din sila ng integrity test. So, they will be assured that they're honest, reliable, and disciplined. Okay? Then, knowledge test. So, para makita yung kanilang technical at theoretical expertise. Criteria-based skills test. So, yung verbal at numeracy, they can speak and they can compute. And then, lastly, simulation test. Yung simulation test, parang practice. So, pwede siyang immersion. Okay? So, dadalhin siya sa isang lugar, o obserbahan siya doon kung okay ba siya. O kaya on-the-job training, mag-on-the-job training ng 2 araw, 3 araw, tapos titignan kung pumasa o hindi. Okay? And then, company test. No? So, maybe bibigyan siya ng event na pupuntahan sa company. Okay? Titignan ang kanyang behavior o obserbahan. Business lunch or dinner meeting. So, i-invitein yung aplikante for lunch or dinner. Tapos titignan yung kanyang manners. Titignan yung paano siya magsalita habang siya ay nasa dining table or nasa isang meeting. Okay? And finally, presentation. Bibigyan siya ng topic, tapos magpe-present siya. Tapos may mga empleyadong makikinig sa kanya. Tignan nila kung paano siya sumagot ng mga questions, paano siya mag-present, paano siya magbihis, no? Yan. So, those are important test para sa isang manager. You see, pag managerial position pala, maraming test ang kinoconduct to make sure that we are really getting the best fit candidate. Okay? So, we're on to our first exercise. This is now the question that you need to answer. It's entitled Selecting the Best Fit Cooks. Ulala, a fine dining restaurant is screening the top 10 shortlisted applicants for cook. May opening sila, mga kusinero. Fine dining, ibig sabihin social yung pagkain. The resto will hire only 5 new cooks out of 10 to start next week. So, importante na makapili sila ng tama, no? Kasi they'll be given 7 days to complete the requirements. What type of pre-employment test will be most likely be required? Ano ba yung i-require natin na test, no? Personality test ba? Skills test ba? Cognitive test ba? Physical ability test ba? So, what type of pre-employment test will you most likely require? Okay? And then, please give a detailed answer. Pag pumili ka ng isang klase ng test, i-detalye mo, paano gagawin yung test na yon? Ano yung ipapagawa sa applicant? Ano ba yung hinahanap sa aplikante? Okay? So, make sure that you answer this in the comment section. Okay? Below this video. You have to answer that, and I'm giving you 5 days to answer this question. Okay? Cheers! See you in video number 2.